All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving head first into a really radical and honestly highly provocative philosophical framework from the author Xu Fang. This text literally reimagines everything we thought we knew about wealth, poverty, and even the afterlife. Seriously, if you think your bank account determines whether you're rich or poor, or if you've always believed that humility and poverty are, your golden tickets to spiritual salvation, well, get ready to have those ideas completely flipped upside down. The concepts we're unpacking today challenge literally thousands of years of accepted dogma. So let's just jump right in.
Now, we traditionally associate spiritual salvation in heaven with the humble and the poor, right? It's a concept famously anchored by this super well-known biblical quote about the camel and the eye of a needle. For centuries, across so many different cultures, religions, and philosophies, the general consensus has basically been that material wealth is a massive obstacle to spiritual purity. It's deeply ingrained in our collective psyche. We're repeatedly taught that the kingdom of heaven is this sanctuary for those who have suffered, for those who lived virtuously with very little in the mortal world.
But our source text totally subverts this traditional view with a really shocking counterclaim, and that is, the poor cannot enter heaven at all. Consider this stark contrast. According to Xu Fang's framework, heaven strictly and exclusively belongs to the rich. The text argues that if you are categorized as poor, you are firmly locked out of paradise. No exceptions. You're destined instead for endless reincarnation, or maybe even worse, hell. It takes that quintessential narrative of the noble pauper and just entirely dismantles it. Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, the text immediately acknowledges that this premise sounds absolutely miserable. The author actually admits that saying this feels incredibly unkind, literally comparing it to putting a knife into the hearts of the poor as their blood pours out. It's an incredibly harsh statement on the surface, right? It almost feels like kicking someone while they're down. But the author insists on exploring this paradigm shift totally neutrally to uncover what they argue is a much deeper metaphysical truth. So our goal today isn't to take a side or to judge, but just to unpack exactly how the author justifies this seemingly brutal role of the universe.
To resolve this apparent paradox, let's move into Section 1, Redefining Rich and Poor, and explore the metaphysical ledger. We essentially need to completely strip away our traditional financial definitions and replace them with a system of cosmic accounting.
In this framework, being poor has absolutely nothing to do with your bank account, the car you drive, or what neighborhood you live in. Instead, poverty is defined entirely by the act of constant taking. A poor person is someone who is continuously extracting from others, from society, and from nature. And by doing so, according to this philosophy, they're constantly sinning and accumulating this profound spiritual and cosmic debt. So if your life is a net drain on the world around you, regardless of your earthly net worth, you are fundamentally poor.
Conversely, a rich person is simply defined as someone who consistently gives. They offer wealth to others, to their community, and to the natural world. And importantly, they operate their life without running a cosmic deficit. They're defined entirely by their capacity to provide what the universe needs, rather than what they can extract from it. To be rich, in this sense, is to be a source of continuous, unburdened nourishment for existence itself.
And wealth here isn't just money. The text brilliantly breaks down what these rich givers provide into three distinct categories. First up, we've got material wealth that's offering tangible things, food, clothing, shelter, or care during illness. Second is spiritual wealth. This has nothing to do with finances. It's about providing encouragement, cheering up a friend, and just injecting passionate enthusiasm into someone's life. And finally, soul wealth, which is this incredibly rare ability to bring deep peace, serenity, and calmness to the minds of others. If you're providing these vital resources to the world, you are generating real, undeniable wealth. Which brings us to Section 2, the three dimensions of debt, tracking your cosmic liabilities. Because if giving builds your wealth and taking makes you poor, what exactly counts as a debt on your universal balance sheet? Well, the author systematically categorizes these universal liabilities into three distinct dimensions of debt. We've got economic, emotional, and spiritual debts. And as you'll see as we go through these, you're likely accumulating them every single day, often completely without even realizing it. Let's start with economic debt. This covers the really obvious things like, defaulting on a bank loan or damaging someone's property without compensating them. But the philosophy goes way deeper into the microscopic everyday interactions. Like, did you accept a meal from a friend last week without ever returning the favor? Did someone buy you a coffee and you just said thanks and moved on? Well, on the cosmic ledger, that unreciprocated treat is a tangible line item of debt. Every material favor you take without returning basically throws your ledger out of balance. But the framework expands radically and honestly becomes truly awe-inspiring when we get to emotional debt. Just think about this for a second. The boundless care you got from your grandparents, the tireless upbringing from your parents, guidance from a boss, cooperation from your colleagues, or that deep consideration from your spouse. Whenever you receive love, support, or guidance, you are technically taking an emotional loan. It's a staggering thought, right? The universe expects you to pay back all of that emotional investment through your own giving, or else you just remain deeply in debt. Finally, we have spiritual debt. And okay, this one is literal next level stuff. According to the text, simply being alive, enjoying the sunshine, breathing fresh air, or drinking water adds to your cosmic tab. Yeah, you heard that right. Every single moment you experience the beauty of this kaleidoscopic world, every time you feel the warmth of the sun on your face, you are technically borrowing from the cosmos. You're utilizing the grace of the Creator and the universe itself. Meaning, even existing as a passive observer racks up liabilities on your metaphysical balance sheet.
So, to see exactly how this works in practice, let's move to Section 3, the ultimate thought experiment, weighing the scales. Let's juxtapose a billionaire against a humble farmer. In this framework, their worldly statuses are completely flipped. If a billionaire is constantly extracting resources, exploiting society's labor, and owing massive emotional and economic debts just to maintain their sprawling empire, they are fundamentally poor. They're basically a black hole of cosmic debt. But a farmer in a distant village who has no debts nurtures the earth and gives their crops freely to society without demanding excess in return. Under this framework, they are categorized as deeply undeniably rich.
So, how do you avoid being poor and actually build a cosmic surplus to become truly rich? Well, the text is super clear that devotion doesn't require money at all. It can be as simple as offering a sweet, genuine smile to a stranger, making others joyous, or actively protecting nature from harm. The text specifically highlights what Buddha Sakyamuni called formless almsgiving, and that just means giving without any attachment to the act itself. So not looking for a thank you, not seeking a tax write-off, and not demanding recognition. It's giving simply because it's the natural, balancing thing to do for the universe.
Now we reach Section 4, the cosmic balance sheet, calculating the final destination. Let's see how what the author calls the law of gravitational life sorts our ultimate destinations based purely on our metaphysical ledger. According to the text's final clinical calculation, the universe operates on this strict math equation where positive and negative energies dictate everything. If you generate a surplus, meaning your giving is greater than your taking, you earn heaven. If you run a deficit, taking more from society and nature than you gave back, you go to hell. And if you break exactly even, where your input perfectly matched your output, you're destined to reincarnate right here in the mortal world. Only the truly, cosmically rich have the massive surplus required to actually ascend. It is a heavy, deeply thought-provoking way to view every single interaction we have with the world around us. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder. When you step back and honestly examine your own life through the lens of this metaphysical ledger, accounting for the air you breathe, the love you receive, and the smiles you give out, are you currently running a cosmic surplus or a deficit? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.